especially with our brand new series, Skill Up and StandOut, with
Recording in
sessions.
progress.
We designed this talk series to sustain our young professionals with the best professional skills and to burnish your personal traits to become more successful. So let's begin the event with our first talk session, True Blue Strategy, to craft you as one of the finest professional industrialists. To commence with, I cordially invite Bimasha Amrasinghe, a member of the publicity team of IEEE Let's Talk 2022, to welcome the gathering. Over to you, Bimasha.
Thank you, Pavani. Good evening, everyone. Hope you all are doing well. In this evening, it is my pleasure and honor to welcome our guest speaker for today's session, Dr. Mahinsasa Rathnayake, all executive members of IEEE Young Professionals Sri Lanka, and our delegates who are present here today at the event. Today, IEEE Let's Talk unfolds their first episode in Skill Up and StandOut, talk series under the theme of True Blue Strategy, which will be focused on elevating professional skills and crafting prominent industrials. This is the first talk session of the year 2023. I strongly believe that this session will be an opportunity in developing that spark within you. So I wish you all the best of luck and hope this session will be something remarkable for all of you. Thank you. Back to you, Pavani.
Thank you, Bimasha, for that excellent kickoff. Moving on, now is the most awaited part of the day that is sure to keep you at the edge of your seat. Our esteemed speaker will discuss the vitality of personal development and how it affects the future generation of young professionals who are stepping into the industry. Without further ado, let me introduce you to our great guest speaker, Dr. Mahinsasa Rathnayake. Dr. Mahinsasa Rathnayake, currently working as a senior lecturer in the Department of Chemical and Process Engineering at the University of Moratuwa, Sri Lanka. He graduated from the Faculty of Engineering, the University of Ruhuna, with an MSc and a PhD holder from the Sirinjone International Institute of Technology, Thammasat University. He is a researcher in life cycle assessment-based sustainability analysis into the critical areas of carbon dioxide capture, airborne pollution control, bioenergy, and sustainable solid waste recovery. Dr. Mahinsasa has more than 3 years of industrial work experience as a production manager related to personal care and the FMCG industry. He has been one of the most appreciated guest speakers for volunteering projects, where he has shared many values and is a person who has been involved in many industrial projects. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome our guest speaker, Dr. Mahinsasa Rathnayake. Over to you, sir.
Okay, good evening, everyone. I must thank for the nice introduction on me. Right. So let me start my talk under the theme. So give me a few seconds to share my screen. I hope you can see my screen. Can anyone?
Yes,
okay, thank you very much. Okay, so I'm here. I'm invited by IEEE Young Professionals Sri Lanka to deliver a talk on the theme of True Blue Strategy. And today I'm going to talk about you can see from my first slide that failure to success and how to have a balanced life with career development, right? So I have been given an outline of for the today's talk with the invitation, but thank you very much for the nice introduction on me. I'm not going to repeat it. So I hope everyone got to know about me. So I'm talking with my industrial experience working in the senior manager level in the industry, especially into FMCG industry, and then as a senior academic, as a senior lecturer at the moment, working, right? Okay, so outline of the today's talk. I have 6 points to cover. First one is ethical perspective of being a professional, and then the key ethical skills to be nourished by you, maybe the young professionals, and then special thing like your loyalty in the workplace, right? So let's talk when it comes, and also the ethical practices in the current industry, and also maintaining the ethical work environment and steps to develop as a competent employee and a good leader. So let's go ahead. So I'm following this outline, but there may be certain things we can discuss. So further to this outline, with my experience, I am very happy to share my experience with young professionals. So if you have any doubt or any clarification, maybe you can use the chat box and place your messages. If it is anything urgent to be clarified at the point, it's okay. I'm okay for you if you disturb me. I'm happy to answer that. But I think the organizing committee has given a separate Q&A session, so we'll discuss more there, right? Okay. Right. So today's topic is mainly on professional ethics, right? So actually, what is professional ethics, or what is ethics normally? There are various definitions or various sayings, quotes on professional ethics and simply ethics, right? So one person, these are famous people's quotes, right? So ethics is knowing the difference between what you have a right to do and what is right to do, right? That is one saying. And ethics are more important than laws, which means that the exact note is less important than feeling of the note. So because I'm not sure whether you understand this example, which means that the exact note, because this person, Wynton Morales, he's a trumpet player, famous trumpet player. It's about music, right? So the note in music, the exact note is less important than the feeling of the note, the feeling of the music. So that's the meaning. So ethics is something, ethics and laws. So because the first thing is you must understand the difference between ethics and laws. So laws is like exact note, ethics is like the feeling of the note. So maybe ethical misconduct or violating ethics may lead or may not lead to a breach of law, but there is the feeling of that law inside the ethics. So I think that definition is very important to understand about the exact meaning of ethics. And also there are certain other sayings, quotes going with this idea in a further way, like the one of the ancient educator is Aristotle, right? So he has mentioned that educating the mind without educating the heart is no education at all. So today is also, I think this talk is some kind of education on ethics, right? Professional development. So any education we conduct or educating the heart. It's not an education. So that means moral development or kind of moral development or kind of sensible development should be there with with knowledge. So it's in other ways, knowledge, skills, and attitudes. All these three things must be aligned for a proper education. So ethics play a lot in the attitude part, because most of our education, I know that almost all of you are maybe either undergraduates or graduates. So whomsoever you are, you must have attitudes, good attitudes, to be a good professional, right? So this attitude part is played by ethics. That's another way to understand about it. And also another author, famous author, has mentioned Chana, the author's name. So she has mentioned that professionalism shouldn't be defined by a person's paycheck, role, or title. It should be defined by a person's work ethic, right? So this gives a very complete, a completed definition for ethics. Actually, normally the society is, and also the young professionals or people who are thinking is the paycheck. What is the amount of salary that I would get if I move to this profession? What would be my role and my title? But the most important thing, the professionalism, is not that actually. It's the person's work ethic. So if there may be in a workplace, there may be a top manager, or maybe sometimes the chief executive officer or someone, right, general manager or very top person, may be not working according to work ethics, while the simple person who takes the tea to the manager's office, right, may be an ethical person. So there, the professionalism is practiced by that person, and his profession is actually something that should be appreciated, right? So that is the point, that the professional ethics or work ethics changes the value or the importance for a certain profession. So that is the topic today. So I think we have a lot of things to discuss and educate ourselves with good attitudes today, right? Okay, so with that approach, I think you are so much clear about what is ethics. Professional ethics here we are talking about. And simply we can say professional ethics is a set of moral values and principles which form the standards of the code of conduct. So you can see the word code of conduct, right? So why this word is so important? Because we have codes of conduct in different professions, different disciplinaries, different areas of professions, right? So it can be individual, it can be organization wise, or it can be profession wise. The code of conducts are practiced, right? So the most important thing is if you belong to any kind of profession, or you are practicing a certain profession, so you must find out the relevant code of conduct or code of ethics, we can say. Code of conduct is actually the synonym for that. So you should find that code of conduct and understand it and start to follow it, right? So that's the first thing. If we understand what is professional ethics, that's the first thing, because profession wise, certain ethical behavior or certain conduct may be changed, but there may be common things, common code of conduct that we can practice as any professional. So today, I may not talk a bit deep on different codes of conduct on different professions, but I would try to discuss and share with you all the related general ethics or general codes of conduct for any kind of profession, which is common to anyone, right? And also you can understand this as the principles that we should practice. So it's something to practice, not to be learned as maybe a regular lecture and just learn it and write in an exam. No, it's a certain principle or principles that we must practice, right? So it actually the professional ethics actually gives you the difference between good and bad behavior, or maybe right or wrong conduct of a professional, because there are a lot of places or a lot of incidents or a lot of opportunities that a profession or professional or certain kind of person inside an organization can play with their behavior, right? So actually the organizational behavior or something, or the behavior inside an organization also governed by professional ethics, right? Right. Okay. So what are the principles and characteristics of professional ethics, right? You can, through these words, you can understand some characteristics of a person who is filled with professional ethics, right? You can say a professional who practices ethics, right? Good ethics, and works according to his code of conduct is an organized person. He's an organized person. His all tasks are organized, right? And also his work is accountable. His work is accountable. So this ethics goes with the action, and the ethics goes with the task or work that is done by the professional. And also he's a person with a positive attitude, and also his language is always professional, right? I'll tell you something like this. This professional language is how far is important, because there are certain professionals who follow the ethics throughout his entire period or entire career, right? So they they talk with anyone in that professional language. So because of that, it has created some historical kind of a background role or background role model around that person. So even someone says that this person has talked in this place in this manner, no one will believe, right? Because I have seen this kind of incidents. That's one thing I would like to share, how it's important to behave as a professional with ethics for in your entire career, starting from the starting point. Then you build up some integrity, and you build up your character and role in that any profession or in the industry, as a person who is working with this language. Because the most important thing that we deal with others is the words, right? Words and language. So if you keep on track with the ethics, you become a person that everybody believes that he's with a professional language. And even someone makes any trouble to you, you will be saved by that behavior, right? I hope you understood. So there are many incidents in my life. I have seen people with very good professional ethics have saved their professional life when the certain problems come to their life, their profession, because of their good conduct, and the development of their professional language. Everyone start to trust him, and also it makes the career very easy to grow, right? And the other thing is emotional control. He's the person who practices professional ethics is a person with emotional control. Most of the problems occur in the organization, especially I have seen for young professionals. I'm dealing with a lot of young professionals going to the industry for both internships as well as for their first job. So my observation is most of them at the first point it's very hard to live in the new environment, new professional environment with emotional control, right? So emotional control in this case goes to every area. So it's one part is actually ethics save your emotional control, and also having emotional control, you become a person who can play in the dynamic environment. When challenges come to you, that person can go ahead, right? And also he's a person with a poised mind, right? And he's always poised on different tasks and focused, right? And he's a respectful person to others, right? So even that when he goes to get done some work with the most downstream staff of that, for example, the labor level, right? And also the senior manager level, both both gives the same respect, right? Because it's very hard in the industry to have the respect from the most senior management as well as the most downward, or something called the labor level people's respect. But if a person practices good professional ethics, he becomes a person who has respect from both, right? So, and also he gets that by giving the respect to others also, right? So it's a kind of a reward that the ethical professional would get, right? And also he's a strong communicator. So his words are really powerful, and he or she, right? The person who maintains the professional ethics becomes a person who always follow the communication loops, right? Because in the industry, there's something called communication loop or communication protocols, right? What do you mean by professional environment communicational protocol? Because it depends. Why I mentioned the professional, because it depends on different professions. For example, if you go to forces like the army, navy, or something, right? Or maybe the police, the communication protocol is different, right? But maybe in professional environment, something called the general industry, right? The communication protocol is really important, similar to the forces. Forces, it is really, really important. If you violate the communication protocol, there you will be punished, right? But here, if you do not follow the communication protocols, you will be punished by yourself, right? Not from another one. In forces, it's from another senior rank, but here it's punished by yourself. How? You violate the communication protocol. The meaning is you may be working with a boss or your senior, the person who you are subordinating. That person, maybe there someone called immediate boss, and then there will be a person called senior boss, senior than the immediate boss. So like that, the ranking system also there in the organizations, also general industry. So if something that you should communicate to the immediate boss, if you bypass that loop and communicate to the next boss, the boss of your immediate boss, then you violate the communication protocol. But there may be certain cases, certain requirements to do that, right? So ethics ethics show you the pathway to decide when you should communicate and how you should communicate with the senior ranks, and also your immediate person, and also immediate downward person. You may be a boss also to a certain person, right? So like that. So this communication plays a lot in the industry for successful profession, right? So if you have any questions later about that, we'll talk. I have some lifetime examples also. Then the soft skills. So ethical person has all the soft skills. So if you want to cope with some soft skills, you have to absorb them, right? And more importantly, effective time management, right? So time is time. 6 p.m. is 6 p.m., right? Something like that. So it's like that. So normally we now when you go to an interview, right? Normally you go a bit early. That's okay, right? But if you go maybe after 1 minute or 2 minutes, or maybe after 5 minutes, that really tells a story, right? So like that, in the professional environment, in your task, the time management is a big thing. So if you can't work according to the time, on time, and deliver your work on time, you will be in trouble. So that part also a characteristic of ethics, as well as when you become an ethical professional, you will be followed by effective time management. So the saving is there, right? So overall, these characteristics develop the integrity as a professional, and it gives you the professional behavior, and it develops your confidentiality as a professional, and also it gives you, following professional ethics gives you professional competence and due care, and also the objectivity. So these are the principles and characteristics of professional ethics. So in general, if you say ethics, you can divide them into 3 types: professional ethics, personal values, and common morality, right? Actually, there you can see professional ethics as one part, right? But actually, all these 3 are actually interconnected into professional ethics, right? Because if you have personal values, something called personal values, that comes with your family background, your religious background, or your social, cultural, and so and so. They actually, some parties going for common morality also. So all these things also help into your professional ethics. When you develop professional ethics, these become background. So there may be, if you have that background, you will be easy to move with the code of ethics for a profession. But if the importance here is, if you feel that there are certain people who are lack with personal values due to various reasons, right? And also lack of common morality. So these things, if a person knows that he's lack of this part, so he has to take more effort, but he can become good professional with good ethics, right? But the thing is, they are interconnected. So ultimately, it makes a character, right? And also this professional character is rich in the things that have been mentioned in the code of ethics for that profession, and also these personal values. So either way, the personal values can be improved later if there's no good background for him or her. But ultimately, this anyway, it actually creates a person with all the morality and values at the end of the day. So that's the interconnection between all these things. But when you simply say professional ethics, we feel like it is something somewhat advanced thing. But if you go in depth and see, most of them are coming from personal values and morality. That's what I wanted to say. Right. So there's a question. Now you are familiar with what is professional ethics and what is the background of that, what are the characteristics. So you can think, it's a self question, do you possess professional values and ethics? Then you can think, am I a person with ethics, right? So if you are, so you can simply test with this. If you understand your role and responsibility, now maybe some of you are undergraduates. So as an undergraduate, do you understand your role and responsibility, right? I know that I have good experience that most of the undergraduates, especially in government universities, I'm not criticizing between government and private universities, but most of them have not understood their roles and responsibilities. So that means they are not practicing ethics in their undergraduate time. So if you do not practice the ethics in undergraduate time, how can you practice the ethics in the after graduation in the industry? So that becomes a problem, right? So very important thing is, if you understand your role as an undergraduate, or if you understand your role as the graduate, or as a manager, as an engineer, as an executive, and then you start to become close to your ethics, right? And another characteristic is, if you are a person who understand other professionals and respect them, right? So most of the people, they do not understand the other person, right? They do not have the patience to understand the next one, right? So that creates a lot of workplace problems, right? And also we must respect other profession, other professionals means the same professional area, maybe, or other professional areas. So this also you can check if you have that. So if, as an undergraduate, if you understand the other people around you, that includes the lecturer also. So if an undergraduate can understand the lecturer and his responsibilities and his behavior, and also the lecturer also understand the students' requirements and respect the student. So lecturer also respect the students. Students should also respect the lecturer. So similarly, in undergraduate environment and in industry, the manager should or must respect the laborer, and the laborer should respect the manager. So normally what we have is the laborer should respect the manager, but manager does not respect the laborer. So then is there ethics? No, it's not ethical behavior. And also understanding. So this actually creates a very good work environment, productivity improvement in the industry, right? Understanding even the simple laborer gives you maybe surprising results in industries, right? I have real-time examples, right? Okay, then be accountable for your own actions. You can check are you accountable for your own actions, right? That means every action that you do, maybe as an undergraduate first, since you are practicing now, as an undergraduate, whether you are accountable. That means, are you responsible, or can you measure your performance, or the weight or the workload or the approach that you gave for that particular task or action? So then you are a person working on continuous development, right? So because you can account your own action, you can measure your own action, right? Self-regulation. Do you have regulations created by yourself, right? So what one regulation, for example, I would say, right? Are you a person who always drink alcohol when your friends invite you, right? Very simple in your life, right? So if any friend or anyone invites you to drink alcohol at any time, right? Then if you do not have a self-regulation, you will go and drink. Maybe the next hour you have important meeting or important work, right? So is it ethical behavior? No, right? Then ethical person has self-regulation. Okay, he will not do that. Similarly, any other action, I just took that example just to understand. I hope you understand. But it may be any other thing also. Anything it can be applied. So you must develop your self-regulations, right? So, for example, undergraduate, if you are given some kind of homework or kind of assignment to be submitted, uh, maybe your friend has done it and show it to you. Are you a person who copies that? There may be, it may be easy, right? You will get a mind that, okay, I'll copy that work and submit, right? But if you have a self-regulation, you will not do that. You have a self-regulation that I always genuinely work on my work, right? Then that is, you are an ethical person. So in your undergraduate life. Similarly, you can apply it to a profession, right? Then uphold professional integrity. So that is the last part. So if you are filled with these characteristics, you can check these values and ethics. There may be many more, but altogether you becomes a person with professional integrity, right? So there are some, I just extracted some codes of ethics, some important parts from certain codes of ethics. The first thing is because the profession that I belong to is engineers, right? So I just took, I hope that most of you are related to in that area, but it's common, those things are common to others also, general people who work in the industry. So this is coming from National Society of Professional Engineers, NSPE, this one code. And it says that engineers in the fulfillment of their professional duties shall, these are the things, right? Very important part only I just took. Hold paramount or vital the safety, health, and welfare of the public in the performance of their professional duties. For an example, if you are an engineer, you have to design or maybe install some kind of an equipment in the industry, right? Then your first thing is, so this design should be ethical design, right? Dog's work has been done by donkey. There are people in the industry who does this, right? If it does not belong to your competence, if you try to do that, you are violating your ethics. It's not ethical to do something that is beyond your competence. That means, that does not mean that you should not take challenges. You have to understand it. You have to take the challenges. You have to test whatever the new things that you can do, innovative or inventions or innovations that you can do within your area, within your competence area. If you are a civil engineer, you can't repair the cars, right? Maybe you have some skill, but if you try to do that, uh, maybe of course if you know that you can get it done your own car, that's okay. But maybe if you try to do that in a work environment when the dedicated person is there, right, then that is violating an ethic that creates problems in the profession, right? uh, Issue public statements only in an objective and truthful manner, right? This is very, very important thing. Sometimes people may have time or incidents to make public statements. Now, as professionals, sometimes in my case, I have happened to go to the media and talk several times. So, and also any other profession may have that. So we should be very careful when we do public statements, right? It should be objective and truthful. If you carefully knows about it, if you know that it is the entire truth, it's okay. It's ethical to mention that. But if you are unsure, please do not do that. That's what it says. Act in professional matters for each employer or client as faithful agents or trustees, right? So you should be faithful to your employer or agents or trustees, right? So this part, I think we will cover under loyalty part, loyalty of employees. So I will discuss that at that point. Then avoid deceptive acts in the solicitation of professional employment, right? So I think you understand it. Avoid deceptive acts, right? Right? Okay, so that is coming from NSPE code, and this is coming from IEEE code. Since you are IEEE young professionals, I think this is related to all of us, right? So IEEE code also tells you somewhat similar to that, but certain different things also I took from that. Almost all are similar. So even NSPE code, a lot of similarities with IEEE code because both are engineering profession. But I just took both of these to show the similarities and also some important things. So here's some important thing. Of course, you can see the first one, safety, health, welfare is same. And to avoid real or perceived conflicts of interest. So this term is really, really important. Conflicts of interest, right? What do you mean by conflicts of interest, right? Now, let me put it in this way. Um, Maybe you become a manager one day. Let's say you become a manager in an industry, and you have a small department, or maybe a medium scale or large department. So you will be a manager for a certain department. So that may be, in my case, I worked as a production manager. I was the manager for the entire personal care products manufacturing facility. That's a department. So that department I may be the head of that department. And behind, I mean, in the rank system, below me, there were a certain engineer and also maybe a young engineer, and that who works as the plant engineer role. And then under that, there are production executives and production supervisors. So, let's say now I have, let's say, a simple thing, right? To understand these conflicts of interest. Now, I have to interview, right? I have to interview as a manager because in certain cases, uh, certain level, after a certain level, in some of the companies, uh, after a certain level of employees, the very below level employees are uh, interviewed and selected by the respective department head. That may happen, right? The above people are interviewed by HR or human resources department, right? Or sometimes in some organizations, all the things, even a casual employee may be interviewed by HR division and given. So that depends on the company's practice. Anyway, in that case, the head of the department or the manager may be there in the interview panel. So then maybe we interview a person to repair the computers of that company, right? Let's say of that particular department. In that particular department, let's say we have 10 computers and we need a computer technician for the company. Then we interview and there is a person who has very good skill on computer repairing, but we know that, we get to know that this person, this applicant, has a private business called computer repairing. So he has a computer repairing shop, right? So it's a conflict of interest. So if we offer the job to him, there is a conflict of interest, right? What is that? There may be a risk that that person will repair the company's computers and he may change the parts of that computers with his own business, right? Okay, like that. So this is one example. Maybe another example, conflicts of interest. Especially something like this. Now, in industry, there are standards or something called quality standards and other things are practiced, right? So let's say you are the manager and your wife or your husband is working in the standards department, standards institute. Then if the audit, now there's an audit, annual audit to offer the standard. So you discuss with them, and your wife or your personal family member, maybe a relative or someone, is there in the auditing team, right? So it's a breach of violation of conflicts of interest. It's a conflict of interest, right? So that there will be a risk that due to the family relationship, that person will give a positive thing, violating, even though there is negative part, he offers the positive results for the audit. So like that, you can understand what the meaning of conflicts of interest. It's a very important thing that in your profession, you should avoid conflicts of interest. And if it becomes a conflict of interest from your side, you should avoid the things that happen like that. And also from your side, if it happens, if you become a conflict of interest to something, you should be very humble and genuine and honest to say that it violates this and I will give up this. I will not participate because of this, right? Right. And you have to disclose them to affected parties. So it's very important thing to be learned, right? And to be honest, that is also part of it. And another very important thing is reject bribery in all its forms, right? I would like to share one lifetime example in my life. One time, when I was working in the industry, I was offered by a certain contractor, because when we are working in production environment, we really need to establish new plants, new equipment. So that was a plant installation. For that, we offered that job. The company offered that job to an external third-party contractor, and that third-party contractor attempted to bribe me to increase his contract. Right, I practiced it. So at the point, I rejected it, and it saved a lot of money for the company. And also, we got a good. We were able to finish that project with good honesty. And actually, I was the person who was in charge of that project, and I was able to complete it with good honesty and genuineness to the senior management, right? So that's the thing. So these are the things. And also another important thing is treat fairly all persons regardless of religion, gender, disability, age, all those things, right? If you become a manager, right, who only recruits or who only treats in better way. If you are a Buddhist, you only treat better way to the Buddhist people. Or if you are a male person, you always treat, normally happens vice versa actually. If you are a male, normally treats better to women, right? But maybe the other way. It depends. There are some people like that. And also, maybe one day you may migrate or you may go for foreign job opportunities. Even there, you always prefer to, you favor, of course, the people favor like that. Maybe to the school you may favor, right? I know that is there. But even though people practiced, it's unethical, right? It's okay if fairly the person is, it can be he's coming from the same school, or he's coming from the same religion, or he's coming from the same national. That's okay. If he's the real fair person for that position or that particular opportunity, then it's okay. But if it's canvassing or kind of favoration, then that's the problem. But this happens a lot in the current industry. But there are industries who sometimes who do not follow this also. So it depends, right? But if you are a profession in your small arena of your profession, you can practice this, right? So personal ethics also follows this. Some of the personal ethics that most of the people, even including undergraduates, violate are software piracy. First thing, most of the people in Sri Lanka especially, they practice with pirated softwares, right? So if it is impossible, or there may be a lot of reasons for that, due to the money, not having money to purchase the licensed software. But anyway, if there's a way to prevent from pirated versions or software piracy, maybe if it is intended one, you strategically do that, please stop it. Maybe you can move into whatever the free versions. And copying homework or tests, so these I think common, right? Borrowing office supplies from employer, that may be borrowing or taking, right? Of course, I know that most of the days I have seen students have, especially even undergraduates, in my undergraduates that I am teaching, I have seen some of them have the papers which has been issued by the examination department of Sri Lanka. That is because their mother or father is working in educational departments, right? Or maybe at least a teacher who is going to examination duties. But actually, it is not like that. It's a violation of ethics, right? copying of videos or CDs. So sometimes important videos, secret videos, people maybe record them and they distribute it. All these are unethical things. Plagiarism, right? Plagiarism is a big problem in academic environment as well as in industries. I have seen some young professionals. They try to when the senior management gives some project to work. What they do is they copy a similar project from the internet and present to the. There are incidents like that I have witnessed. So then that is not ethical practice. So you have to find ways to go away from plagiarism, somehow give up plagiarism, right? Then expense account padding. What is the meaning of that? That is, some people actually add unnecessary material or expenses, and maybe especially this happens when reimbursements happening in the industry or whatever the working place. If you are a person who can reimburse money for your expenses, some people do this. This is also very unethical thing. Right? It's actually a cheating, right? And personal use of the computer, printer, copy machines at the work, right? I have seen people who copy novels, right? Who copy their children's homework or maybe the notes, who copy their MBA notes. I have met managers who take printouts of their MBA note from the company printer, company copy machine, right? Actually, people do this, but it is unethical. It's unethical, right? And unethical use of social media is the biggest problem these days, right? So all these things, I think, if you are practicing professional ethics, you have to start from your personal ethics. Okay, so key ethical skills to be nourished. I think I'll quickly go because of the time. I think now time is moving fast, right? I have only a few minutes remaining, I think, from the given time. So maybe I think I'm not going to explain all these things, but maybe we can compare with the good work ethic and poor work ethics, right? You can compare this. Always arrives to work and finishes the project on time, early, while often arrives work late, like that. So happy working and always need extensions and does not see anything in positive manner, right? So people who always working with their cell phones and working on others, there are people like that. I have seen professionals who come to their workplace and watch the last day night drama through internet provided by the company, right? So there are people like that. So all these are unethical things. So it's a skill, actually. It's a skill that you should practice from today, right? From your undergraduate time, right? So these are 7. This side you can see 7 skills that you can start. You can start to practice to be nourished, right, inside you. So maybe put away things that distract your work. Ask trusted colleagues or mentors to help you. That's very important thing. Having a mentor in your life or colleague who mentors you, and spend your time wisely on tasks, right? And especially the prioritization of your work, right? It's very important because time management always comes with prioritization. If you prioritize your work, you know you can stay free of stress, right? Because when you go to a profession, when you go to industry, you will have thousands of work in your list, that you will get today you will get a work, tomorrow you will get a work, like that. It's a pile of work, right? So you have to prioritize which one you should complete first. Then only you can apply the time management. It may start organizing your notes, organizing your folders in the computer, organizing your email inbox. Starting from that small actions, these practices skills start, right? And also take breaks throughout the day, right? So if you are a person who does not take a break for your work, then that work life balance will not be there, right? So that is another skill you should practice, right? And also identify aspects of your work that motivate you, such as tasks, goals, or colleagues. So every profession you can find the aspects that motivates you, right? Then you have that creates a kind of a drive force for you to engage in that profession. That is also a skill, because that saves you in the professional development. Then lastly, practicing time management skills and quality work. Sometimes people have time management, but their outputs are lower in quality. So you have to have quality outputs from your side while managing the time. So let's move to another part, that is loyalty in workplace, right? So generally, any employee must be loyal to the employer, right? But this actually, you as a professional may have to be loyal to the employer, and also as a professional, you must be able to make uh, your people you manage also loyal to you, right? So because most of you, I think, become a manager or engineer or somewhat higher level in the management. So maybe with the experience, you may climb up to the very top management, called general managers, chief executive officer, and director level. So then those people also become employers or part of the employer. So then you should know the skill, even at a starting point as an executive in the industry. You should be able to have the skills to make others loyal to you, right? So the work environment is perfectly organizational performance happen when all the people have this loyalty. So that loyalty, uh, uh, it saves the effort of everyone, and it reduces the leaves, or it reduces the I mean uh, uh, the time that is spent without working will be reduced, right? And retention of the employees will be increased, right? That is very important thing. And also supportive environment to the employees. So all these things come with the loyalty. So characteristic of a loyal employee are these things, right? So uh, a loyal employee has a healthy work-life boundary, and normally it does not mean that a loyal employee does not mean that a person who does the anything that the management says. It's not the meaning of loyalty. Loyalty in the workplace means actually becoming a person with a professional with good performance, and he sees the bigger picture in his when it comes to take decisions in the industry, and it accepts final decisions from the top. But whenever need to correct them, they are there to correct also. Makes an effort to improve. That is also part of loyalty. So as professionals, young professionals, you must put efforts to improve your workplace. Whatever the workplace, you should not just maintain as it is. Try to improve something out of the work that you do, right? And always brainstorm beneficial ideas. Whenever in a certain place there are employees who do not brainstorm, right? Who do not contribute with beneficial ideas, that workplace goes downward, right? And it will be in a big problem very soon. But loyal employees make this, right, and takes advantage of career development ultimately. And also it, it does not mean that accepting everything what the top says. It gives the honest feedback, right? So this honest feedback actually creates whistleblowers in the uh, industry. So I will explain what you mean by whistleblowing next. So there are certain tips to improve employee loyalty in a workplace. Actually, this part may be played by the employer or managers. So as a manager also, you to get work done from, because managers are people who gets work done from others, right? So if you want to become a good manager, then you should ensure that your employees, the people that you manage, are paid well, whether they are mentored properly, whether they are provided with challenge work environment. Because if there's no challenge work environment, the good employees may not retain, right? And whether they are promoted on time, whether they are involved in your decisions, right? As a manager. So maybe if, as a small head of the department, like me in my working time in the industry, so I got around 150 laborers, workforce to deliver the personal care products production on time. So these parts helped me a lot. I appreciated them every week. I had a common meeting and appreciated the employees, the laborers, the machine operators who reported to work every day and who achieved their production targets, something like that. So appreciation is very important, and giving them a value and giving them missions, right? You as the manager should provide them a mission, and whether you have to ensure that they are empowered. So when they are in trouble, as the manager, you should be with them, right? Especially in the workplace, sometimes people have a lot of problems. So you should empower your employees, right? Because even though you are not the employer, if you are a manager, your the people under you, people who listens to your commands, must be empowered by you. Otherwise you can't get the proper work from them. And ultimately you should be a trusted environment. You should create a trusted environment within your small working team, right? So that is the importance of loyalty in that perspective, managerial or professional perspective. And also there are 7 more tips. I think they also follow the same thing, right? Then ethical initiatives in the industry. So someone may ask whether the industry really have these ethical initiatives. So yes, there may be different initiatives in global and Sri Lankan industry. Maybe if you go to different areas, right? So for an example, environment, right? Environment, maybe a certain organization takes actions, take some initiative to, for example, in my FMCG industry, that particular industry takes a decision to reduce the polythene packaging. That is thinking about environment. That is an ethical initiative. That becomes an ethical initiative. Philanthropy, maybe that means something like a certain organization donates some money for the education of poor children. Maybe providing scholarship, right? That is philanthropy side, ethical initiative. Then health side, maybe the organization funds or sponsor or organize some health awareness for their employees or families, or maybe surrounding village of or surrounding city of that organization. There's something like that. Those are ethical initiatives. Communication side, right? And corporate governance. Corporate governance mean actually there may be different initiatives that the organization may cater or initiate in that area, right? And also human resources wise, social responsibility. There may be different initiatives. I think you can see also in general news also, this company, that organization worked in this project, that project, for the betterment of the society or something like that. So all these are coming under ethical initiatives. And also the crisis management and marketing, right? All these are aspects that can be covered under ethical initiatives. Then there may be a problem. Is the question maybe asked from you, is the current industry lack of ethical practice, right? The answer is we can't say lack of ethical practice, but there are incidents, there are certain times that ethical practices are not followed. But the current industry, especially if we focus on Sri Lankan industry can be divided, any industry, even global, can be divided into mainly two parts, right? Multinational industries. First type is multinational industries. Second type is private owned industries. So basically, these ethical practices and ethical initiatives, as I mentioned previously, are very high in multinational environment, multinational companies, because they follow with their corporate governance and their management structure, and the company employer structure is very, very big. And due to that, the ethical practices can be very easily practiced. It is not depending on the people, a certain person or certain thing, right? Normally, in multinational companies, even you can see in Sri Lankan industries, there are few multinational companies, well-known ones. It becomes their organizational structure makes it easy to practice ethical practices, right? But when it comes to private-owned companies, some companies having a big organizational structure have a good practice of ethical conduct, but some are there with direct, maybe very less, like several 2-3 people are governing the employer responsibility. Then they are depending on different people or their personal agendas or personal attitudes. Then there may be a violation of ethics, can happen. But always a person can, as an individual, so we must follow as individuals our own ethical practice in our own profession. Then actually we can contribute to the ethical practice of the entire industry by our own single initiative, right? Okay, so then one more important thing is we as employees work as whistleblowers in the industry, right? Who is this whistleblower? You can simply understand a few days ago, this FIFA World Cup was over, right? So, simply in soccer game, you have seen this referee who is whistling for a foul play. So whistleblower in the industry, in ethical environment, work environment, is also a person like that who whistles or who speak aloud or who shows something bad happen or something, some fraud or some kind of safety violation, some kind of corruption, something illegal, anything, misconduct happening inside the organization. So there are two types of whistleblowers. One are internal whistleblowers, other one is external whistleblowers, right? So in ethical practice, as a good professional, you should be internal whistleblowers, right? You should be internal whistleblowers, not external whistleblowers, right? So, but of course, so you actually the company, any industries, any organization will go forward when there are good internal whistleblowers. It's because the whistleblowers show the at the correct point what is wrong, what should be done. They speak aloud and they show it, right? So, but sometimes external whistleblowing also may require, right? So external whistleblowing may be required only in these cases. The harm that will be done to the public is serious and considerable. And you inform that to your internal management, internal employer. They do not care, no satisfaction from their immediate supervisors and even the board of directors. They do not follow that. The same violation happens. You can go for external whistleblowing, but my advice is if you are practicing ethical work environment, in such case, it's better to leave that industry, leave that workplace, and move to a better place that you can practice internal whistleblowing. Okay, right. So then, lastly, so I'm coming to the final point of my talk today. So that is the skill development required for a young professional. So I hope you have heard about 21st century skills. Basically 21st century skills have 16 types of skills in different areas: foundational literacies, competencies, and character qualities. But basically these competencies is the most important thing. The 4 C's: critical thinking, creativity, collaborations, and communication. So these skills are very important to be integrated into your work, your environment, or your character through ethics, right? So then these skills takes you to the next level of profession. So but one important thing is leadership. So how a good leader creates. You can decide whether you become a boss or a leader one day as a profession. So actually, a good leader mentors his subordinates. He coaches. He generates enthusiasm. He appreciates. He develops the people. Give the opportunity to grow up the others, and always respect to the others and give the credit. I have seen, even in my time working in the industry, I have seen, even I have become a victim sometimes. My leader or my immediate boss has stolen my idea and didn't give any credit to me, right, at the end of the day. So these things are happening in the industry. So they are bosses, right? They use people for their benefit. But a leader, he gives the credit to his subordinate and let him or her to grow up in the profession. So you can compare these nicely and grow up the leadership skills, so-called leadership skills, and decide whether you become a leader or a boss one day, right? If you become a boss, you are a person without professional ethics. If you are a leader, you are a person with ethics, and you will be a person who nourishes your employees surrounded by you, right? So one last important thing is, as a young professional, you should practice this. Say no to multiple things, right? Because if you want to become a successful employee, you should provide proper output. That means saying no to multiple things will save you to give up with a yes to a big right thing and come up with very good quality output, right? Because there are people, there are young professionals, due to various reasons, they do not say no to things, and they start to accept multiple things to work, and do not come up with good output in so many things because of the workload or because of the various things, right? So how to say no at work, it should be very polite, and when to say, you should be you can think, yeah, like when to say. You should not say no to opportunities. It does not mean that saying no to opportunities, you should take challenges, but there are cases, if it is curious to you whether you will generate good thing from this or not, or maybe it is beyond your personal boundaries, it is not a work that can be done within the given time, if it is something that violates certain ethics, so you should say no, right? Right. So it's saying no is not negative. It creates you a good, successful work environment, right? So lastly, um, uh, so here I think I have given 7 things, 7 points that when you should say no. The deadline is when the deadline is unreasonable, when the task interferes with your other work, when the task isn't in your wheelhouse, you are on vacation. If you are on vacation, you are under leave, you should not say yes to that immediate work, unless otherwise it is a part of your previous work, right? You are feeling under the weather. If you are being taken advantages of by someone else by that work, you should say no, right? You are asked to do something unethical or unsafe. And also another very important thing is when to move from your current job to another one, right? So when you go to an one day as a young professional, you should decide when you should leave from the first job to the second job. So take the right move at the right time. That is very important. So in my life also I have taken like that. That's why I moved from industry to academia, right? Because if you feel like you are stagnant for some time, if you are following the same routine of job every day, that's the time for you to move to the next one, right? So if your workplace is feeling like a toxic environment, right? Toxic environment means many ways, mentally toxic as well as really environmentally toxic. And also, if you are suffering from burnout, you are not in a way to conduct your work properly. Your confidence is dwindling, right? It's not confidential to work there. There has been uncomfortable change in leadership. Sometimes the good leaders, like for example, the chief executive officer of your boss, may change, and the new person is unethical, unprofessional leader. So then it's the time for you to sometimes move to the next one. So your work is overlooked and undervalued. If you feel really that, that's the time to move. And your values no longer align, right? Then that's the time to move. So like that. But normally in any industry, in the current industry, and generally 2-3 years may be the time. It's not always common to every workplace, but as a common timeline, I would say 2 to 3 years would be the retention time. You should find your next move that helps you to climb in the ladder in the career development, right? Right. So lastly, ask yourself these things when you make decisions in the industry as a professional. Is it right thing to do? Is it just balanced and fair? How will it make me feel about myself? If something terrible happened, could I defend my actions? Does this choice lead to the greatest good for the greatest number? So these things you have to check before you are doing something or you make decisions in the working environment. Then you can ensure that your practice is ethical in the industry. So final thoughts from today's talk from me. Read carefully the code of ethics for your profession. Better if you can memorize. It's not essential. If you start to practice, it becomes your lifelong learning or lifelong practice, and you become ethical employee, ethical professional. Then never disclose information given to you in confidence unless it violates ethical codes, right? So normally it's another habit that you should have. Never disclose information given to you in confidence. If someone told you something confident in the professional environment, and also it is the same for your personal life also. Assume responsibilities of your mistakes. That's very, very important thing. You should be humble enough to assume your mistake. That stops a lot of problems in the working environment. Never accept gifts that compromise your ability to perform with freedom. I hope you remember the story I told you about my real life example experience. So if you accept gifts from different people, including your top management sometimes, and which limits your freedom to work in the professional manner, please do not accept that. It may be sometimes a salary increment that puts you into a less freedom to work and work according to some bad or maybe unprofessional guidance from the employer. So there are incidents like that. So there you have to be careful. Start applying no plagiarism, no software pirating, no abuse of office resources, so and so, etc. All those personal values, start applying. If you have done, you can continue. If you not certain things, start from today, right? Lastly, I must share this with you. One saying from Albert Einstein: if you want to live a happy life, tie it to a goal, not to people or things. Because as a professional, if you want to develop, you have to tie your motive to a goal. I will become this person one day. I will become this type of a professional one day. That is the goal, and I will do this type of a service to this particular set of people or this particular nation or like that, this particular industry or something like that. That is a goal. Create your goal and work according to that, not for people or things. Because if you become attached to if you do things in profession or in your life, in personal life also, attached to a person or things, your happiness will not be there. So ultimately the professional is a happy person, right? So you should live a happy life. If you become a good professional, you can live a happy life because of this. Okay, that's all from my topic, my talk today. Thank you very much for careful listening. Even I think I took 15 minutes or 20 minutes more than the given time. Thank you very much for inviting me for today's talk. So it's a question and answering time. If you have any question, I'm very happy to answer. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Mahinsasa Rathnayake, for those inspiring words. I'm sure that all the participants learned how to become the best version of themselves and to improve their personal traits. Now it's time for the Q&A session. So I'm sure most of you guys have questions or doubts to clarify. So feel free to unmute your mics and present the questions so you can put them in the chat box. Okay, so there's one question in the chat box. Let me present it. Sir, how can we avoid being taken advantage by others? And how can we identify that our workplace is toxic?
Right. Okay. That's a very good question. How can we avoid being taken advantage by others? Right. Okay. The thing is, this happens a lot. Other people take advantage of us, right? Of course, when you are an honest person, genuine person, this happens mostly. People try to use you as a tool. So it's actually sometimes it may be difficult, right? In my work, I mean, my personal experience also, there are incidents that I have been, uh, I have been tried to become a victim of this type of things. But of course, the most important thing is you should be vigilant, right? You should be vigilant on what is really happening in surrounding you, whether the really. So you can. I think I explained this in my talk. The self-questioning and be vigilant. What is happening surrounding you? Then it gives you the proper understanding. And if you are a person who is working according to ethics, always ethics save you back, right? It is like something like there's a saying, something called the person who behaves in good acts is saved by the good acts, something like that. So you will not become a victim of maybe there may be attempts of people try to use you, but you really get the chance to be aware or getting to know about it when you are behaving according to ethics. So that's the first thing happening. And the other thing is, of course, you should be a vigilant person. You should be careful in that way. So if you feel like you have been used, right, then you have how to I mean handle that. Maybe you have to it's like the thing is there's some saying called stay away from negative people, stay away from people who try to use you. You can understand them. Those are the people who always creates problems in every solution, right? So as a professional, as a I mean motivated employee, you may provide a lot of solutions, but they create problems for those solutions. Then you can really understand them. So handling means actually we can stay away from them. So they are the toxic people sometimes. So you can stay away. The other thing, you can handle them in diplomacy. So you should be a diplomatic person in work environment. Diplomatic means you have to there's like the top management, especially the people who take final decisions. You should make them aware about these things, not in something like gossiping or babbling. Just with if you become a person, work with facts and figures. Like if you can present to your top management with facts and figures, then you can avoid such attempts to make the working environment around you to be toxic. You can avoid from that. So even it helps. I think I answered that question.
Okay, thank you so much, sir. Another question is popping in. How can we be loyal if others are not loyal at the workplace? How to handle that?
Okay, uh, that's also another thing, right? We are loyal, but others are not loyal, right? Okay, that's actually a trouble, right? But the thing is, uh, it's like this. Of course, this makes a big trouble in teamwork, right? Especially in teamwork. Of course, your work in the industries become teamwork. But if there are people who are not working loyal, but you are the only person who is working loyal, then you become the something called the person who takes the all the burden of that teamwork. But ultimately, the credit goes to those people also, right? That is the normal thing happens. But in that case, actually, it's two ways, right? One thing is you can create attempts to change them to be loyal, right? For that, actually, in my case, I can tell you a similar example. When I was given that, actually, I joined the industry as management trainee, and then after working with certain projects and after doing some improvements to that plants and different new projects, I was offered with the senior management position. So there, uh, when I became to that position, there were a lot of people who were not working loyal, right? But I was able to make them loyal through some strategical approach, right? One thing was these type of things like changing the work environment on target driven, or maybe goals based, right? A working environment. If you can change, for that, actually, you should work in diplomatic manner with the top management, right? So you should be skillful to handle the top management to get the freedom to implement new things, right? Implement better approaches to make the people below your rank to be loyal. But if it is the problem, so that is possible if you work according to those things. Actually, I have made certain people to be loyal. There was one electrical uh, supervisor, right? Electrical supervisor in my plant, who did not work according to the required level, right? He violates, so he purposely make the breakdowns happen in the something called, breakdowns mean the when equipment does not work, he does not fix it, something like that. So, but I was able to change him and make a person who is well taken care of the process, and whenever is about to have a maintenance, he work with more preventive maintenance and prevent that breakdown or whatever the loss to the production. So something like that. That is possible in that way. If you are a good manager, it's possible. But the problem occurs if the people above you are not loyal, right? Then actually, one thing is you can, if it is, it depends on two ways. If it is multinational company, there may be a procedure for that, right? You can the way that you can handle it. But if it is private owned company, that means there may be a owner or maybe a managing director or some kind of a board of directors. So there may be a strategical way to pass that message to them. If you are, if it is possible to change that person, or because it may be beyond your control, or otherwise, if it is impossible, then that's the time to make the change. If the top people are not loyal, uh, being loyal to that company is not good. So you have to take a move to the next, your next move, right? So that's the thing, right?
Uh, so we have another question. How do we engage discipline and ethics for our day-to-day life and learning?
Okay, that's also very important. How do we engage discipline and ethics for our day-to-day life? So that is totally personal startup or personal practice, right? So if you say how, right? So that first of all you have to check whether how many moral conduct or how many types of missing disciplines or ethics that are in your life, because it depends on person to person. Some people already have certain ethics already practiced, right? So you can start one, maybe at least per week you can include one to your life, maybe per day. So always there's something called anything becomes a habit after you practice 21 days, right? That is a psychological finding, right? So anything you practice 21 days continuously becomes a habit, right? So if you can start practicing something, right? So in my case, of course, I must say when I was an undergraduate, I was used to use pirated software, because at that time there were no pirated software, no licensed software, and we didn't have money to spend on that, right? But that was the even the, at that time I was not aware that it is an unethical thing to do that, because that was the early days that computers came to. Computers were in my time when I was undergraduate. There were very few computers, and it was the time that the computers came to the work, like. But maybe later, this was, I mean, lot of, it became an essential thing, and everyone is using, and even a small kid was using computers. So then actually the day that I got to know, I started to practice it. I removed all my pirated copies from my computer and tried to find out whatever alternative open source software. This I'm just telling one example, and that is about computer piracy. Not only that, right? Any other thing also it will be okay, right? The first, maybe another thing is uh, maybe you can say something like taking printouts, right, from my. So accidentally one, I mean, it is a practice, right? So accidentally one day I remember that I had to take a printout, right? I had to take a printout from the office printer. uh, of course the official work we have to take, it is for that, no? So but my personal thing, for my personal thing I had to take. So since I am a practicing person, I put back that one A4 sheet back in the printer next day from my own money, right? So that is how you can correct. There may be places where you have to you have to violate, maybe due to certain reasons you have to violate. But that is the thing, that if you are a person who is practicing, you have to start it a habit to your life, right? So it's actually a personal driven thing. So it is something that should be inculcated by you, right? Uh, so maybe it is rather than telling, it's a practice. Right? Okay, I think that's the answer for that.
Thank you, sir. So with that, as we're running out of time, let's end the Q&A session now. Looking forward to hearing you speak again. Thank you very much, Dr. Mahinsasa Rathnayake, for that insightful session and for sharing your experience. I hope everyone had points to take note of. It's a great pleasure that you have accepted our invitation, especially during these unpredictable days that we are facing. Once again, thank you, sir. As a sign of gratitude,
thank you.
Please accept the digital token of appreciation we have prepared for you.
Thank you very much.
We are almost at the end of today's session, but to cherish the memories of today, we are now ready for the group photo. Don't miss the opportunity to be a part of the Let's Talk legacy. So the virtual background will be shared in the comment section, so you guys can download it and put it as your virtual background now. So Bimasha will take the snap. Are you there, Bimasha?
Yes. Okay.
Okay, done, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, great. So thank you everyone for joining us, taking the group photo. So guys, a kind reminder, a feedback form will be shared in the chat box for all of you. So you guys can share your thoughts or any pros and cons of the session. That brings us to the end of last event of tonight. It's time to bring the first day of SkillUp and StandOut to a close. And as in any event, there are always those that require thanks and recognition for everything that they did to make this event a possibility. May I now invite Mohindi Madhumage, a publicity team member of IEEE Let's Talk for the year 2022, to deliver the vote of thanks. Over to you, Mohindi. I think Mohindi having some difficulties unmuting her mic. Can someone help her?
Okay, thank you, Pavani. A very good evening to you all. On behalf of IEEE Let's Talk Organizing Committee, it's my privilege to deliver the vote of thanks on this occasion. First of all, I want to express my sincere gratitude to Dr. Mahinsasa Rathnayake, who has spared his precious time and enlightened all of us with ideas on True Blue strategy. Thank you very much, sir. Then I would take this opportunity to express my deep regards to all the participants who were with us and attended the webinar with great enthusiasm and make it a great success. Last but not least, my deep sense of thanks and appreciation goes to IEEE Let's Talk Organizing Committee for their great cooperation in the organization of this session. Thank you all. Have a nice day.
So thank you, Mohindi, for that fantastic vote. This brings us to the end of our session. Thank you everyone for being present here today. I'm sure that this was a very knowledgeable session to all of you. We will meet you again in the next episode of SkillUp and StandOut. It's Pavani Rathnayake signing off for today. Stay safe and have a nice day.